Good morning. Good morning. Today, we want to talk just a little bit about making your names list. So, the names list is the lifeblood of your business. This is your foundation. If you don't have it, it gets very frustrating. And if you don't have a long enough one, it gets very frustrating. So when you start or when you hear people talk, a lot of times you'll hear them talk about making a list of 100 to 200 names. And that might seem kind of overwhelming because when we see the presentation, we're like, we need 4 business partners. Oftentimes, 4 people come to mind. I'd like to work with my sister. I'd like to work with my best friend. I'd like to work with this person, that person. And you have, these people that come to your mind. Well, how often does that work out? It's one thing to have them in our mind that we think they would be great, or we think that this would bless their life, but it has to be the right time for them. It has to be the right moment in their life. I have a new analogy that somebody helped me come up with about a month ago, that what we're looking for are people that are in the water that are no longer swimming, that are starting to drown. They're starting to feel like they're suffocating in their job. They're seeing this darkness come over, that they, might have a pink slip coming up. Something's not right with their boss or with somebody that they're working with. Things just aren't good anymore. And they're coming up for air. They're gasping for breath. And that's where we want to be. We want to be there with hope and with an answer for them when they come up for air. When we try and get down in the water with them and we try and swim alongside them and we try and say, hey, look at this, look at this. Are you open to this change? Are you open to this? And they're like, no, I've got my stroke. I'm going for this next rank at work, and I'm climbing the ladder, and I'm living the dream. And yeah, I never see my family. And yeah, I don't make enough money. And yeah, I don't have enough time, but I am living the dream. And when they've got their head down, that's not the time to try and convince. We still reach out to people, and sometimes you can get somebody to come up for air during that time. But too often they're just mid-stroke. So we're looking for people that are looking. We're looking for people that have their head up for that minute to look out of the water and see above it that there is a world out there, that there's time, there's money, there's resources, and people travel with their families or they're home with their families. Eric actually got to be the dad on the field trips. You're looking for the people that are looking. So if you only have a list of 4 people, it's probably not going to be their right time for all of them. Might be for one of them. Obviously, start with those people because we want to tell the people that we care about first, so they never come back on us 5 years later and say, you talked to the mailman, but you didn't talk to your sister. You don't want to hear that, right? So you talk to the people that you care about first, but we have to have that backup list so that if it's not their time, when they say no, it just means not now. And we circle back to a longer list. So you all have one of these close by your phone. I opened mine up today just for fun. And if you scroll to the bottom of your contacts list, it'll tell you how many contacts you have in your phone. And I have thousands. And I have to tell you, my phone's a mess. I need to go through and sort it out because most of these people I don't even know. Like, I wouldn't call them. It feels like a cold contact to me. So I can't just look at it and go, I have thousands on my list. No, that is false thinking. And if you have hundreds on your list, you're not there yet. You need to do exactly what I did and sit down and just start scrolling and look. And if a name pops out at you, I don't care what your second thought is, right? It's the first thought. If they jump out at you, write them down. And I'm going to screen share for just a second, and I'm going to show you what format I use. I use this formatting when I'm doing my names list. I have a name, a phone number, why I thought of them, and a progress channel. So this is all really important, and I do take them off my phone. There's something that happens when you write them down, and I don't just do it on the computer here. I left it on the computer so that you could see it, but there is something that happens that connects from the brain when you write it down. It's a different cognitive response when you're using the dexterity of your fingers and writing. Remember that old thing that we used to do before we had computers and texting? We wrote. There's something that connects with the brain when you do that. So print it off. I didn't want to print it because it's easier for you to see on the screen, but print it off, write in John Smith's name, write in John Smith's phone number. Why did I initially think of John Smith? Business owner. Oh, there we go. It's being a little slow. So business owner, I thought of John Smith because he was a business owner. What was my second thought? Oh, John doesn't need this. He's so busy. His business is exploding. He doesn't need this. But you don't know what went on in John Smith's house last night. You don't know what conversation he and his wife are having. You don't know if John Smith's business is in trouble because he can't find people to work for him because they're all home collecting unemployment and they are not willing to work. I'm seeing that happen to business owner after business owner around us that seem like they have a thriving business. And it looks like that on the outside. We have a favorite guy that does our car repairs. He's done our car repairs for a decade and just found out that he's closing up shop because he has so many cars. He looks like business is literally booming because he can't get anybody to work with him. So he's got 3 empty bays that he's paying for and cars that are backing up and he can't keep up. So he's having to go out of business because it's imploding, because it's too big and he can't keep up and he can't get any help. So if they come to your mind, you write them down. Don't second guess yourself. It can be because they're a business owner. It could be because they are outgoing. It could be because they are a connector. It could be because, oh, spelled it right, yep. It could be because they are friendly, right? I don't look for people that, I'm not gonna wanna correct everything because of my font. Sorry about that, guys. You look for people that are outgoing, that are kind, needs time. Maybe you've got a friend that is working 2 jobs. We have a lady that I was offering to fly out and go help get started for one of our team members and found out she works 17 hours a day. She's working 2 jobs and she's a single mom. She's trying to come home and juggle little kids. It's not the right time for me to come. This is the right time for her to fit it in the nooks and crannies. But it was neat talking to her enroller because he said, yeah, she is fitting this into the nooks and crannies and she is putting people into your Zooms and she's going to be out of one of her jobs in a few months, then go help her, right? So don't be afraid to talk to people that don't have time. This is a way they can earn back their time. So this column, this Y column is my most important. You can get your names and your phone numbers off your phone. Yes, there's power in putting them on paper, but the most powerful part of this is why you thought of them initially, why they came to your mind. Maybe it's because they have the Midas touch. Do you know what that is? The Midas touch, it's an old fable of a person who, a king who wanted more than anything, he was given a wish and he wanted to have a touch where anything he touched turned to gold. And it seemed really good until he went to pick up something to eat and it turned to gold and he couldn't eat it. And he went to give a hug to his daughter and she turned to gold. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But the Midas touch is anyone who touches anything and they turns to gold. Do you have that friend who, doesn't turn their daughter to gold literally, but they come into a business and all of a sudden it explodes. They have a hobby and all of a sudden it turns into $1 million project. They just are lucky that way. They're blessed that way. So I call that my Midas touch friend. Maybe you have that friend that is the lottery. You've made the lottery conversation. And then I can think of that person. And when I call him, maybe it's Bill that I knew from high school. And if I call Bill and I have Bill's number here and I call him, the conversation isn't going to be, hey, Bill, are you open to an opportunity or are you open to looking at a video? The conversation is going to be around the lottery because that's why I thought of Bill. So not that either of us have ever won it, but I'm going to have that conversation of, hey, Bill, remember when we were in high school and we used to joke that whoever won the lottery better think of the other person? Well, I didn't win the lottery, but I found something that I think is going to make me as much or more. And I don't want you to miss out on this. I promised you I wouldn't leave you behind. You have to look at this. So it's a conversation he can relate with, right? It makes sense to him personally. That's why we don't put out real strong scripts on what to say. We want to have you keep it simple. You're open. Are you open? Are you open is the main crux of our communication. But this list has to be long, because your progress over here that you're going to keep track of, I have my little code up here. that I use, and you can make it however it fits for you. But you need to know whether you actually made a connected call where you got them on the phone. That does not mean, voicemail or text. Voicemail and text are my least favorite. They're the least effective. So if you want to leave them completely off, that would probably be the best. But sometimes I'll do a follow-up text. And so I still will throw a little T on there that I know I've had contact with them and I did a text, but I try not to ever lead with the text. That's just a little nugget. People tune them out. We're getting more and more advertising on our texts. We're getting more and more things just showing up that are not solicited or not wanted. And when even a friend sends something like that, it feels the same way in our hearts and in our heads, is like, here's another solicitation and we want to swipe left and get rid of it. So having a connected phone call, either on the phone or a face-to-face, is always my preference. If I call and I get their voicemail, it's usually extremely short and nothing that they can gauge any information from. It's something along the lines of, hey, John, it's Trish, call me back. I've got something really important I need to share with you. And then zip it and hang up. John doesn't know whether your daughter just won and got a position to go to the Olympics. He doesn't know whether you got a new car and you want to go out. He doesn't know why you're calling. I'm not going to call and give him a little bit because he's going to jump to conclusions. So I'm going to tell him just a little bit of nothing in order to get him to call me back. I'm not trying to string him along. I'm trying to give him the right information in the right package so that he can make the right decision. When we give people just a little bit and just a little bit, it's just a little bit enough to make the wrong decision, and we're not doing them any favors. And then, if you get them on a Zoom, put it on here, because then it's time to follow up. I can't tell you how important a list like this is. I actually have mine in an Actives orange notebook, so I could easily find it. But I have a section that is my master section that has all my names. And these are people that are underwater right now, but they're people I don't want to forget about. They're people that I've met over the years that are amazing networkers. They just have their head underwater right now. They're not looking, but they're on my list so that I never forget. And I didn't start this until this business. I have 30 years that could have been filling this notebook and I didn't. So this is a lesson I want you to learn that I didn't learn quick enough. Write every name down of people that are powerful, good connectors, friendly, outgoing, driven, motivated, Midas touch, business, right? You want those people that are the right people. Now, of course, we're going to find people along the way that are just hungry for a chance, or they're tired of being sick. They're tired of hurting. And those people are great too. And some of those people are going to make my list too, but they're more of a conversation about the products because they just want to get better. And they might turn into a distributor. But when I'm making my master start list, it's business-minded people that go at the top of my list. And then I have a section that I've marked so I can get to it quickly. I don't know if you can see my little tabby there. I've marked it just with a sticker, put something on the back so it won't stick to everything you lay your notebook by. And then this is my section that are people actually in progress. And then I have my little notes next to them of where I'm at. This person's actually seen a presentation and I totally forgot. Guys, we're human and we're multitasking and we're running in 1,000 directions, job and family and build your business and spouse and do the yard and pay the bills and go to the grocery store and mow the lawn and all the things that are part of our day every day. And some of you have farms and cattle, and some of you have special needs, and some of you have caregiving, and all of these things that are layers in our lives. It's really easy to forget. So if I didn't have it in a notebook, I totally would forget. This person, we showed them, she's like, this looks amazing. I need to go home, look at actives.info for a little bit. I just need to process a little bit. And a week later, I found her name and went, oh my gosh, I never followed up. I may have lost that just because she went back underwater. If we're not there when they're processing and following up, just dripping on them every day, just a little bit. How you doing? What'd you find on actives.info? Do you have other questions? Just a little touch. That's where the text can come in. But it's really important to follow up. But if we don't remember that they're in motion, I have so many irons in the fire at one time, even with the business. Right now, I've got a page and a half of people that are in motion. Why? I only need one or two to fill gaps on places that I'm putting new people, and most of my time is spent helping my team. So this is really critical for me to have this because I don't get back to it as often as I should. And when I do come up for air and have time to check in with my personals that are in motion, I need to know where to find them and have them right at a finger's touch. The other thing that's really important is to know your master plan. See if I can find that. So make sure that everyone that you enroll knows what their master plan is. Their master plan is to fill in their first 4 as quickly as possible. Needs to be done in the first 30 days. So you need to show them that they can put people in front of activespresentation.com. It's right on here so that they have that link. They can go to the Actives FastPass app and see where all the Zooms are and put people in front of those Zooms. They can get on Telegram so that they can be aware of different things that they can use. They can use actives.info for follow-up for their people. I'll probably rearrange the formatting and the order of these a little bit, because actives.info is kind of a follow-up. But we want them to have the tools, and then we want them to know who they can go to for support. So make sure that you fill in your name and your phone number here on as enroller for anybody that you enroll. This is new. I just put this together. The other chart that's on actives.info just has the chart. I think this other part is really important so that they know who to call. I've got people that are saying, well, just call Eric and Trish, but they're like 7 people down from you, which means there's literally thousands of people in between. And as much as I love every single person I've met in this company, you need to know who your lifeline is that has time to help you, or that has the responsibility to help you, right? Some people have more time because they're more full-time, and I am full-time in this, and I'm happy to help anytime I have a gap. But make sure that people know who their literal lifeline is, who their support team is. That's their enroller. And then probably the 1 or 2 people right above the enroller. In some cases, those people are completely disengaged. And so you do need to check with people up above and say, can I put you on as a support team member for this person? Please always ask, don't just assume, because if you tell John that his support team is Eric Albrechtsen and this person, and you don't tell Eric, and Eric isn't on the radar, and there's thousands of people that Eric's responding to, that isn't fair to John, right? We need to have John have 3 people on this list that do know who he is and are in his court, that are willing to do meetings with him, one-on-ones with him. If they're local with him, that's best, because they can go sit down at lunch with his people. If they're not, then there are people that he can get on a 3-way call or a Zoom with, little notice. And then it's easy for John to talk to somebody and maybe watch a Zoom with them, or the activespresentation.com, or something where they've seen some information, or they've looked through actives.info together and now they have questions. John can throw out a 3-way text to the 3 people that are on this list and say, hey, I've got Kelly on ready for a 3-way call at 2:00 Central. Is anybody available that can help with that? And then it doesn't put any one of them on the spot. They can all look at their schedules and say, yeah, John, I can help you. And he knows who's going to be there. So there's a system in place. We want people to have the help, but we want you to get your 4 quickly. And then we want you to focus on helping them get their 4. And that can mean you getting another 6 and plugging them in down underneath. That can mean them each getting 4. That can mean you getting 16 more people. There's lots of different ways to fill in the second level. Ideally, we want each of them getting their 4, but if they're not moving at the same speed you are, you can fill in gaps and move around them. Now, if they're not doing anything, I don't fill in all 4 for them. I might put one person underneath them and help that person get 4, because it's going to compress. That's a conversation for another day. That's the college level of this conversation. We're going to wrap this up so that we keep it to our 20-minute pod restriction. We want to keep these within 15 to 20 minutes so that you can go back and watch them in a quick period of time. Thanks everybody for joining us. And this is a wrap.